Okay, hi
Hey.
everyone. Hi Hugo, thanks for
Hi.
tuning in, and hi everyone who's listening to us live or watching or whatever you guys doing, like on the background. My name is Maria JD. I'm gonna be the first one introducing myself, and this is actually the first time we're doing Art Heroes podcast live. So it's better. It better be good,
I'm
Hugo.
glad
No
to be a guinea
pressure.
pig.
Yes, I know. Thanks for testing, like together with
It's
us.
fine.
Yeah, of course. So basically, like the way I would always get this going is just, like, can you go ahead and just introduce yourself? Because I know you because you're one of our best students. You're really doing great. And I know that I really like your work and
Thank you.
your characters, both professional and personal. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so my name is Hugo. I'm a lead character artist at Rock Factor in Montreal. And I guess that's it.
Yeah.
No,
Okay, that's a great start.
yeah, I don't know if you want me like to talk a bit about where I come from, because that's really funny. Actually, that's a funny story. Um,
Sure, go ahead. Yeah, actually the funny stories are the best stories.
Yeah, so yeah, I have a
Milton is
lot
saying
of
hi.
I have a lot of friends, and I know a lot of people, a lot of artists are like, oh yeah, I knew I wanted to do art like in the very beginning, like when I was 5, I started drawing and everything. And for me, that's actually not at all true. I wanted to be like an astrophysicist for the longest time until I was like 15 or 16, and I had a bit of a difference of opinion with my teachers when I was in high school, and I turned away from all the mathematics and physics and everything, and I wanted to be like a video game journalist, a video game tester. I was like, yeah, you can earn a living like testing video games, so that's great. And at one point, one of my friends were like playing role-playing games, and he was always drawing our characters. And I was like, oh, I would like to know how to draw characters because it's amazing. So I started doodling on my own. And then at one point, I had a friend that he was like, oh, I'm gonna study video game. I'm gonna work in video game. And I'm like, what? You can work in video game? It's amazing. So I was like, okay, so what do I need to do to work in video game? At that point, I was like 16, 17. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So I finished my high school, worked a bit to pay my studies, and then went on studying video games. So like I
Wow.
finished my degree, I was like 2023, maybe something like this. So yeah, I started really, really late, but yeah, it's fun.
So wait, you're saying 23 and that's really, really late?
Yeah, for starting, yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. Like,
No, but a lot of people are like, yeah, art is always has always been my life, and it's been my life, yeah. But since like since I'm 20 years old, so I think it's like late compared to someone that has been drawing all his life. Just what I'm
right.
saying.
Okay, right. So what was your first job then?
My first job, I had an internship at Kiloton back in the day, just after my studies. I was doing environment and yeah, optimization. So that was fun. But by the end of my internship, the project was ramping down, so they had to let me go. After that, I found a job in an indie company that did a small game called Exodus. It was really fun. There was a lot of stuff to do because we were like 4, so we had to
Okay.
basically do everything. So I did some characters, environment, backgrounds, translation,
Okay.
and on the side, because it was a very small studio, I was teaching texturing to some students, and yeah, and then the game came out. Did not perform as expected. So
That's
yeah,
okay.
I moved to Lyon in France, and I started like teaching Maya and visual techniques about storytelling through an image and everything. And then I found my job in Canada. I was freelance for 2 years for them, and then I went back to came to Montreal 4 years ago, and that's it.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a little bit of like location hopping and everything.
Yeah,
And I also know, like just from following you and your art that you jump from like one tool to another, so you
yeah.
like experiment a lot. So can you give me a little bit of an overview? What's your favorites and non-favorites and stuff like that?
That's actually a very difficult question because every time like people, that's well known that if you want to work somewhere, you like try to do the style of the company you want to work
Mm-hmm.
for, and I have a really hard time doing that. I'm most like I like all type of characters. I like making like cartoony. I like pixels. I like anime characters. I like likenesses, and I'm like it really depends on what I'm curious about at one point. So like I have a character like I did that's completely like anime look, and it was really at one point I was like, how do they do it? I want to know how to do it. I want to be able to do it. I'm gonna do it, and then I did it. Then I tried, and then I was like, okay, now I want to get better at likeness, and I was like, oh yeah, Marlon is doing like his likeness group. Finally, I'm gonna go in the likeness group because I want to be able to do that, and I think that's both a good thing and a bad thing because I have a really hard time like finding exactly the type of characters I want to do, like for my personal projects and everything. So yeah, I do a bit of of
A bit
everything.
of Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. And so, what do you think about this whole like Blender versus ZBrush debate?
That's very that's interesting because my coworker he was like mainly doing everything in Blender while I was mostly um, using ZBrush and Maya, and I slowly transitioned and like from Maya to Blender, but I'm still using ZBrush. There's a lot of good thing about Blender. There's a lot of things that Blender won't be able to do in terms of how much it can take. I think like
Yeah,
for all the power works and like what we're doing like for likenesses, like 28 million poly
yeah,
minimum, Blender won't be able to handle that much, or it will be really laggy. So I think like at the end of the day, they're all just tools. So it's
yeah, right.
whatever you want. So the
Yeah,
great thing about Blender is that you can still sculpt, you can still do a lot of things. You can rig, you can texture in it, and it's free. And that's a big drawing for a lot of
yeah.
people. And ZBrush is not that expensive, and you can do like a lot of stuff too. So it's tool. Just try them both and choose whatever you prefer.
I actually forgot that, like, I really wanted to introduce you a little bit with what you do. So let me just pop
Sure.
your art station real quick, and maybe you can tell me a little bit about what's your favorite character from all of them, and then we'll jump into yeah, maybe a little bit of background of Necromunda.
Yeah.
So which one do you want me to show?
Well, my favorite character is like if you go like a bit lower, it's called Sun. That's the lady like with the mechanical arms uh,
Okay,
on
even
the
lower.
right, on the
Yeah.
right, next to the old dude. No, the
Next to the old dude. Okay, okay, okay. On the right from the
yeah,
old
this
dude.
one.
Sun 2?
Yeah, Sun 2 and Sun 1 is just that's
Uh-huh.
I think
Okay.
that's my most memorable for now piece of work for the like a ton of reason. There was a workshop I took with Seth Jones like 4 or 5 years ago, and it really gave me like the confidence that I could do it. That was like that I was a good character artist, and that it just like what I needed was just time and not stress out about everything. It was very funny because I did it also like my wife was pregnant and I had a day job, so I was like having like 72, 75, 80 hours weeks because I
Oh
was
my
doing
God.
like my day job and like 30 hours on the side just for the character. And yeah, it was hard, but it was like a super great experience. I won't do it again. I don't think I can do it again, but yeah, yeah. Basically, every time like I feel a bit down, I'm looking at this piece and I'm like, yeah, uh, I really jumped like leveled up from what I did before and
I
this
can see
piece,
that. I can see
and
that. It's just very
that's always like
different.
a real confidence boost. Like every time I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, still can do it.
Yeah, no, of course, of course. And at the time when you did Sun, like, were you already working in
Yeah.
Montreal?
Yes. Yeah. I was working in Montreal. I was working on a game called Mordheim City of the Damned, and I was doing like some DLC work for it. So it was kind of hard because I really had like to juggle like one job and a half at the same
Yeah,
time. But in the end,
right.
it worked all for the better.
Yeah. And so like then there's a ton of characters from
Yes.
Necromunda, right? So okay, like I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm really gonna dive deeper into the Necromunda stuff because it's
Yeah.
like just very interesting, like how long it took you and how many people were working on the game like together with you. Like, you know, how much of you is there as well? Like just
Um,
talk to me a little bit about game art.
cool. Yeah. So for the game, so we had concept artists and regarding characters, we had like concept artists, us on the character team and the animation team, and it was like a juggle between all of us. Usually we get like the concept from a concept team and analyze it. Okay, so what's gonna work, what can't work, what we need to redo and everything. And then usually we just jump straight in like ZBrush, go ahead and do all of the equipments and everything, all the clothing, and then we send it back to concept. So does that work for you? Is it good enough? Is it like the vision you had in mind? When it was okay with them, like we were starting on the low poly and everything, UVs, and then texturing. And at the end of the texturing, we'll send it back again to concept art, so like it fit their vision. Like obviously there was some changing between the concept and the 3D model, just for the fact that 2D doesn't translate like perfectly into 3D. But we tried to match the most closely what they done as design, especially since it's a Warhammer franchise, so they are very we need to stay like close to the design as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
So how many characters are there in total in the game?
That's difficult to say because we worked in batch of characters, but at the end of the day, it's pieces of equipment. So
Uh-huh.
there's like hundreds of pieces of
Oh my
equipment
God.
that you can change. So yeah.
So is it like mix and match customizable? Like how does
Yes.
it
Yeah. So
Okay.
you can change like let's say haircuts. You can change like beards. You can change armors, you can change shirt, belt, boots, pants, equipments on the thighs, equipments on the forearms, equipment on the arms,
Right.
equipment on the back, and then there's like several versions of all these equipments, and you can mix and match how you want, and then you can put whatever color you want, because we have like you can choose like between 4 spaces of colors. Let's say there's 4 like place where the color change, and you can put whichever color you want.
Right.
So ton of
So basically,
customization.
if you really wanted, you could have created a separate, like, I don't know, like 1,000 piece art station account for this.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, we wanted to stay true to what Games Workshop does. Like you can mix and match the character to build your own army, and that
Okay.
we try to replicate it like in 3D in a game. Like you hire a character, and then you do them however you want them to look like. So yeah, so
Okay.
what I did was like piece a bit of everything I did, so it's still different. But at the end of the day, like it amounted to a lot of character.
All right. So basically, there were, let's say, several masterpieces, like, and from there it goes like dissected to a variety of characters.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
is it like how it like kind of works? Like
Well,
basically, there's like I don't know, like one strong dude and one sexy girl.
no, we had like a base person, and then we did all the thing on the base person, and then we just like switched up to fit like maybe a bulky person or a skinny person. We all did like with a blend shape in Maya, so yeah, it works very well.
Okay. This is so cool. I mean, like, I really like the aesthetics and, you know, it's just like all the colors and, you know, just like, I think texturing is also pretty cool. So
Yeah,
did you do texturing as well?
Yeah, for most of the character, I did the texturing. Like I think for this gang, The big dude that called the Goliath and the Orlocks. The modeling and locally was done by Chaos Mason. I got to drop them because they did an amazing work with them with us. And then for the last two games,
So this is the Goliath, right?
Yeah, I was responsible, like, you know, for most of the texturing, like no, for all the texturing except the skin. I did the tattoos. I did like the additional equipment, like haircuts and everything for them, and carrier elements, which are for this guy. It's not shown on this screen, but some have backpacks, some have eye patches. So yeah. And for the last gang, that's like the top one, like we did everything. And there's another batch that I haven't posted yet because I didn't have the time. But just that's a ton of characters, and we were two to do like all of this work. We did a lot of texturing we did a lot of texturing for weapons too. We did some props. The company was like mid small. We were like 30, 35. So everyone had to pitch in, like, okay, that's not my job, but we need to do it because everybody's in the same boat. So it was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah. So remind me again, like, what was like the lifespan of the whole project?
I think it was around a bit more than 3 years.
Jesus. So, that's a long time.
That is a long time because I don't have much game as I worked on, but most of the game I worked on was fully worked on. So it's a marathon.
Definitely.
Stay motivated for a long time. It's a bit like.
So,
go ahead.
No, I was actually going to pull the question from somebody from the audience. How long would it take, I think, to make one finished character for this project?
Basically, we were around 7 weeks for a character. A month to a month and a half, like 5 days and 8 hours a day. That's what it took from ZBrush to finished.
And also, like, I think that's a follow-up, the retopo and UVs.
We did everything. So we did everything: iPoly, retopo, UVs, baking, texturing, and importing into the engine.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, that was really intensive. Basically, we didn't have any time to second guess our decisions. So that's the part where we needed to have a lot of work done when we were looking at concepts and figure out what would work and what would not work, so that when we started actually making a character, there was no second guessing, because any second guessing would just delay the whole character by like days, weeks.
No, of course. So Hugo, you are the lead artist, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Lead character artist, yes.
Yeah, lead character artist. So do you actually so you do work as an artist, like as a character artist yourself, and at the same time you're leading the team?
Yes.
So talk to me about that, because I think this is very interesting, because when you're leading a project that is like a 3-year project, what's your biggest wish for the artists that work with you?
The way
please don't be assholes, or what is it?
Well, I think that's one really important thing. The way we worked with my previous artist, we were like the two-headed dragon, because I have the absolute utmost trust in him. I would just give him his task, and I know he could do like a great job, and I had nothing to do. The way I see it is, like, for me, especially right now, like communication, and it's like 50% of what I'm looking for. I need someone like I can communicate with. I need someone like I can joke with, because we are going to be stuck together for 8 hours a day for 3 years. That's more time than I spend with my kids. And I need, obviously, when you realize it, you're like, damn.
Better be a nice person.
I need to find someone I can like be comfortable with. And it's fine if you don't find somebody like this. And it's fine, like, maybe you can't work at a place because like you don't get along with your colleagues. That's fine, because that's that's a big part of what you do, is communicating and getting along. That's how like everything goes smoothly. As part of me leading a team right now, we are a small team, so we are two character artists, maybe three, hopefully. And so I'm very much into production. Like maybe it's 80% production, 20% management. And usually what I try to do is have the most things to give to my artists, so I know I can keep them busy. Great thing is like we give a lot of ownership to our artists. So like I'm not giving like piece of a character to do. I'm giving a whole character to do. I'm like, okay, you're gonna do this character, and this guy is gonna do this character. So that at the end of the day, like as a character artist, like it's really empowering to do the whole character. So I think like what I'm trying to do is give the most like control about everything about to the artist.
Right.
And then I'm there for controlling fall damage. Like, okay, I'm gonna do paint overs, sculpt overs. Like, okay, if you know this is not really working, or this is not what we are mostly looking for. And I try to keep everything in a single time frame. So usually I don't like to time the artist, but I need to know how much work, how much time they take to make a character, so I can adjust everything and give them tips to maybe give them a bit more speed on X task or Y task. And yeah, that's how to do it. I'm always trying to be like several months ahead, like in my head. So I know like maybe in 2 months, I know what I want from my artist. So I can ask it to my art director or to creative director. Okay, we will need that in 2 months, because that's how long the tasks that we have right now are taking. But
Yeah.
that way I know, and everybody know that they still have a bit of time to prepare the work, but we need it, because if they don't give it, then we have nothing to do, and it stops production for us.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. So, like building on top of that, actually, like I've got one question, and then there is one question from the audience that is
Yeah.
very like much related. So, having said that, do you typically expect artists, or would you like artists to know full workflow from sculpting to texturing, as like kind of and navigate all these different tools, or like, I would say like even my real question is, how much of this do you think can be learned on the job, and what are the essentials? So like
it
it
really
doesn't
depends
like, yeah.
on the artist I'm looking for. Like if I'm looking for a senior artist, I expect them to know the full workflow and to be able to do everything, and
Starting from the concept, like replicate the concept as soon as like from 2D
get
concept
to get my inputs and like maybe like change everything, but any a bit of things. But at the end of the day, they should be able to do everything. And I think us as character artists, it's great to know the whole pipeline. Like I know we need to be specialized and everything, but we need also to know everything there is to do about a character. And more now than ever, there's a lot of artists that are absolute beasts in ZBrush, but at the rest of the steps is not like as developed. And as game engine progresses, there's a lot of stuff that we actually do in texturing. Like for all the powworks and everything, is just like tiling textures. So we have to know like when you stop sculpting and when you start texturing. Like for the for example, for anything that's like stitches and everything, I could do it in ZBrush and it would look great in ZBrush. But I know that maybe there's going to be like some issue at the baking, or the baking will take me like a much longer time because I need them to be perfect in the bake. So what I would usually do is like do all the stitching in Substance Painter. So I know like, okay, that's already on the textures and everything, and that there's less going back.
Yeah.
And more just like going forward. And so yeah, a lot of, for example, like even like clothing details can be done in texturing, like even some type of folds. So we separate like, main folds are done in ZBrush, like secondary folds are done in ZBrush, but everything that like memory folds can be maybe done in Substance. But that really depends on the project. That really depends on your budget and everything.
Yeah. So I guess like, you know, the main takeaway that I'm hearing from you is like, even if you're a beast in ZBrush, that doesn't guarantee anything. So you basically
Yeah.
still have to know like how the whole process
Well,
works.
that depends on the company you're working for, because some company are only looking for like ZBrush artists.
Okay.
So yeah, so really depends. For me, like we are in a double A company, not triple A company. So obviously we need to do everything. And when I'm looking for an artist, I want an artist that's able to know everything, because maybe he's gonna jump and do some texturing at some point, or maybe he's gonna jump and do some shaders, or maybe he's gonna do some uh, some sculpting. But at the end of the day, we character artists, and what we like is doing a whole character.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely. I hear this a lot actually. Like recently, I think that's like what I hear a lot, that this versatility is very important. And that is just like you never know where the studio will need you or what's the project going to be like. So even if you don't know something right now, at least like you've got the basics to dig
yeah, yeah,
deeper from. So kind of something to start.
yeah.
Like,
And like to answer the question like better, for maybe a junior artist, it's okay. Like you don't know this part of the process, it's fine. I'm gonna help you like get better at it. Like we are not. We need to get like the best that we can do. But if you don't know something, that's not like a big no for me. You can
yeah,
always learn. I'm there as lead also to help my artists get better. That's part of my job. So like if somebody is like maybe a bit weaker at on one software, but it's stronger on something else, well, that's great too, because he can do some great job. And then when it comes to his weak part, then he's gonna come with me, and I'm gonna help him like get better at it.
yeah. Yeah, understood. We've got a follow-up question here from Ozge. Like curious, what would you suggest to start working in game industry as an artist? I think that's a good question because nowadays the landscape has changed so much. I mean, after COVID and everything, it's just completely different story. I don't know if you agree. Maybe it has not
Yeah,
for you.
everything changed. Everything changed. What I
Hello, everything changed. Welcome to the brand new
uh,
world.
I think it was the end of the world, because everything changed. Like in a way, I had a friend. He was like always preparing for the end of the world. I don't think that the end of the world that he was thinking about, but in a way it was, because as social person, we went back like years and years back, and
Yeah.
it's kind of difficult, because an outgoing person. I like to meet artists. That's one of the reason I went to Montreal, is to meet other character artists. And now I'm confined to my house. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So that's a bit sad. But with the advent of Discords and like all of these chats, it alleviates the feeling a bit, like having meeting other artists and just like sharing stuff and just all talking like about nothing. To
Yeah.
answer the question, I think the most important thing is to find something you like and you're passionate about and you're very curious about. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna do it for a long time, hopefully, and so you have to be able to yourself be interested in what you want for a long time, be it environment, be it rigging, be it VFX. Uh, then again, so what's the field you want to work in,
Do you really
and
know passionate riggers?
what is it?
Riggers? Riggers
Oh,
with passionate.
yeah. There's
Okay.
some guy that's
Okay, good.
absolutely monstrous, and I think because rigging is like it seems boring, but I think it's very interesting. It's like being a mechanic for characters,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when you do monsters and like mechs, there's a lot of
Yeah.
part that you can move independently, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff like that might be very fun to do, but at the same time, rigging is so not constraining, but at the same time constraining a very rigorous field.
Yeah.
And at the same time, that's a good thing, because there's not a lot of like
There
super
is
good
not a lot.
riggers,
No.
and
No.
so everybody is looking for a good rigger. Like even VFX. Right now, what's hot is being a VFX artist or a tech artist. Like everybody needs tech artist and VFX artist. So
Okay.
you want an
Okay.
easy way into the industry? Be a VFX
Yeah.
artist. But it's a difficult job at the same time. So just like try to
Yeah.
do what's interesting for you, stick with it, and hopefully it's gonna work fine.
Yeah. So for you, like, since you've been, like good at getting jobs, like because you obviously you still have a job.
Yes, you have a job.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I think it's a totally different skill from freelancing, because freelancing, you work with clients. When you're in the job market, you get like a long-term position. So, like, oh, probably yours was like years ago. What worked for you, just to, like to build up on Ozgy's question? In terms of like getting the job, and was it just like building your portfolio, or
Yeah.
yeah?
No, it's very funny because I'm not the other hand, because I'm the one doing the interviews, and usually I'm looking at the portfolio, and if it's like the skill I want, then I want an interview with the person, and then it's mostly about seeing how me as a person I interact with that person, how that person is like communicating. It's very funny because I have a list of trick questions I have to give like the interviewing person.
Can you share the
Um,
questions?
I have a question that's very funny. That's a complicated question uh,
Okay.
in Substance Painter, because sometimes you like put a smart max on in Substance Painter, and it's all like it's not working at all. It's not pixelated from everywhere, and so there's an issue, a really easy issue to that, a really easy answer, but you have to look on the internet. And what sometimes I'm looking for is somebody that tell me is gonna look on Google, because you there's a lot of people that try to find answer or just give me an answer. And what I want to do is that to know that this person is able to look by themselves for the problem. That's
I love this. I
that's a trick
absolutely love
question.
this.
But,
Yes.
and this question helps me like seeing how the person think, because at the end of the day, like I'm building artists so that they can work by themselves, and I'm just managing their time and what they have to do, but they need to be like independent, because at the end of the day it's a skill like they're never going to lose. And so you have an issue, the first thing you do is you look on the internet, and then if you don't find it, then you look on some other artist or anything, because some people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to ask my lead, but sometimes your lead is in a meeting. So what do? You stop working for like half an hour, or just go and Google the
Yeah.
issue.
Wow, I love
That's
that. But at the same time, I think it also like shows that the person is honest. Like, okay, if you don't know the answer, I can just
yeah,
find out,
that
right?
is
So it's
something
just
that
like
I'm looking for.
I'm not gonna pretend that I know everything,
Yeah,
because it's not possible. None of us do.
yeah, that's also something like I like to see, like somebody say, I don't know, sorry, I don't know. That's great. It's great not knowing, because that way you're gonna look for it, or you're being honest. You're not trying to cover up something, and
Yeah.
that's something like also like it's okay to make mistakes. Like even in production, I did mistakes, and the thing is, as with success, you need to own your mistakes, and then okay, I effed up there, but I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna like make it so that this mistake it's all in the past, and everything I did it's just getting better. So yeah,
Right.
mistakes are as in life. It's a good thing.
Yeah. I really like how, like you focus on communication, because I think really it is like it's an essential skill. So what are the other two questions except the substance painter trick?
I have
Now I'm
a
curious. Now you really made me
let me
curious about it.
no, what's your question? I don't think my friend is gonna like that I'm spewing out my question, but it's fine.
I mean,
One
like,
question is I can't. Oh yes, it's a very complicated question. We had some issues with some of our normal maps on Necromunda, and basically we had our model in game, and the normal map was not behaving like what was
yeah.
baked. So in Substance it was all fine, and the engine wasn't fine. So what's happening? Turn, Turned out there's a very complicated answer to that. That depends on on which software you work with, because each software is computing like vertex normal in its own way. Basically, 3ds Max and Blender, they take like two plane, and the
Uh-huh.
vertex normal is 45 degrees from it. So it's fine, it's working. So you bake your model with a value or normal vertex normal for 45 degrees.
Hmm.
But Maya is not doing that. Maya, it actually like it does the same thing, but then it calculates the size of each plane. So if
Oh,
this plane is bigger, then the normal will slightly go to that plane, adjusting itself. But nothing tells you that Maya, when you import an OBJ in Maya, it just rearrange all of the normal for its solution, is inside solution. So what we have to do is that just find the root of the issue, like what's going on. Okay, so vertices, normal vertices are broken up. Why are they broken up? So we get back to the OBJ, say, oh, this is working nicely. And in Maya, it's not working nicely. And we found out like in Maya, you can actually toggle between like having the same way of calculating that other software, but that's not the default option. The default option, the Maya option. And when you don't know it, like you import everything in Maya and then it's all broken. It was really fun.
So basically, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, another funny thing is Substance Painter. I use sometimes to, like we are working a lot with quad meshes, like everybody else, and then you export your quad mesh, you import it in Substance Painter to bake it, and that's all fine. It's working nicely, and then you export your mesh and you import it in Unreal to see how it's working, and it's like all the normals are broken because no, Substance Painter is not triangulating the mesh the same way like Unreal does. So at the end of the day, they are not all calculating the same way. So Maya, when you export and tell him to triangulate a mesh, is going to do the same as Unreal. But Substance Painter, when he's baking, he's triangulating the mesh a bit differently. Like sometimes when you have a quad, like if the edge is that way in Substance Painter, maybe it's going to be that way in Unreal.
Oh my God.
And just this tiny change like changes everything.
So basically, like you're like from what I can see, you're just like looking for problem solvers and like how people tackle all these different problems and how they where people struggle.
I'm looking for problem solvers that I need to see how people thinking when they have a problem. But it's usually when everything's fine, like you don't see like oh somebody reacts. But when it's a stressful period, you have an issue, you don't know what to do, then like everybody's behavior is revealed.
Oh my God. Yeah. The deadline situation or the game broken situation. Whatever. Yeah, for sure. Actually, there is a question from somebody about Maya that I'm just going to pull up. So would rigging in Blender translate to Maya? Like the thought process for it.
Yeah, I think I'm not a rigger, but I think at the end of the day, it's just like terminology and terms and everything that would be changing. But the way you think about rigging and the way you have to build the rig and everything, I think it's mostly going to be the same. I know like Blender has an amazing rigging tool like built inside of it. That's an add-on that's called Rigify. And it's just amazing. Like you can rig a character like in a few hours without needing like the absolute knowledge of all like IK spline works or IK FK transitioning. It's just gonna build you like a really nice rig, and then you can use it. That's what I'm using for my characters. I'm just done with rigging from scratch. It's interesting, but it's too complicated for me to spend time on it because every time I have to rig a character, I had to relearn how to rig a character. So it was even more time taken from just the time that I just want to spend is making characters. So I think to answer the question, I think like the thought process is the same, only the naming changes.
No, absolutely. I think it's just as I said before, like there's a bunch of tools, but in the end you just like need to understand how they are connected and what tool does what and in a way.
It's all about like figuring the tool you have in hand and just whichever you want to use. You want to use this wrench or this hammer, like just do it. At the end of the day, the end product is the only thing that matters, not how you go there. As artists, it's important, like the journey is important, but in terms of production, the only thing that's important is how you get there. What you get there. How you get there is like irrelevant.
Yeah. So the end product, like let me just pick up on this last sentence. So the end product in terms of production, you mean like the character, how is it like behaving in the game and how it looks like
Well,
and all of this.
for us is mostly how it looks like and how is working with animation. Like, is it like
Right.
animation friendly or not? And how it looks like. Is the shadow reacting well? Does the skin look good? Does the material look good? What it does inside of the game, like whether it's like an NPC or something else, or just it needs to jump when it, like, we don't really care about. We just
Yeah,
need
yeah,
to
yeah.
that the character is what our art director like imagined, and we need to like translate it into the game, and then it needs to be compliant to anything that's animation wise. That's what we do at the retopology stage. But then after that, like, it just like how it looks.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then, in terms of like portfolio piece, that's, I guess, like this question is more of like related of the intersection of like personal projects and professional projects and like professional work, I would say. So, like, what do you think is the ideal like result, or even like, like a mental checklist of a personal project when you're like, okay, I'm done with this, I have to publish it, or like I am ready to publish it. So, like, are you looking to make a perfect illustration, or how do you personally approach
The
it?
way I do it is usually like I'm really satisfied with the project and like, yeah, I'm gonna post it. And as soon as I click publish, I immediately hate it. I'm like, I know this is shit. I need to redo one. And that's good and it's bad at the same time, because it's a very like it takes a toll on confidence, because anything I do, I'm like, no, I don't like it. Like, even I'm pretty sure that the likeness I'm making right now, I'm gonna like it, and then I'm gonna press publish. I'm gonna look at it, and then no.
Oh my god,
Need to
this
do it
is this is
again.
the best. This is the best.
That is the
Yes.
worst, because I can't be satisfied. Now, there's some few pieces I'm really satisfied, but I see the mistake. It's very funny because you're working on something and you feel like, oh yeah, it's pretty good, but you see all the issues every time you take a screenshot and post it somewhere. Because for some reason you see it with the lens of somebody that's not working on it, but somebody that's just looking at it. And yeah, like it's very funny. Like, for the likeness workshop we're doing, like, I'm really satisfied. I take the screenshot, I post it on the forum, like, oh, there's so much mistake in it that I didn't. Good. And like everybody is going to go, yeah, you know that you can like change that. I'm like, yeah, I know, I saw it when I posted.
But
No,
it's
that,
good to post. You see, like otherwise
yeah,
you would be just like forever satisfied.
yeah, it's good not to be satisfied, and at one point it's good to know, like, it can't be perfect. It will never be perfect. You have to finish it, like, even if you don't like it,
Ian saying hi.
just do it, change something, because at the end of the day, like, staying too long on something might like break you. I know that's something I can't do, like spend too much time on something, because at one point I'm gonna be bored and I want to do something else, because like, this piece of artwork seems interesting, I'm gonna do it, or oh, I want to try that, but I can't do it on my character. Then I'm gonna be like, and then I'm gonna be like frustrated, and I have a really hard time like doing like several pieces at the same time. I'm usually more like focusing, like, okay, I'm finishing that, and now I'm gonna do the other one, and now I'm gonna do the other one. I can't do like 12 at the same time. Some people can, but I really can't.
Yeah, yeah. And there is also the question actually like about the best workflow you learned over the years, and like a few tips on that. I don't know how you can answer that. So what's the best
That's
workflow you learned over the years?
It really depends, because there's workflow and workflow. There's a workflow that you're gonna use in your company. That the workflow like you're gonna design or like you're gonna follow, because that's the workflow that's gonna work best for X type of project. And then there's the workflow that you create for yourself. And I think that's coming like after like doing characters and like making mistakes and like hating your characters and finding you know the way I work my characters is just very much my own, and I
Right.
think that's something that I've put into like the workflow that I'm using at work now, because I'm designing like the pipeline.
Yeah.
but maybe it's not the right one. And what I said to my artist, like, you can be a junior, you can be a senior, just come to me if you find something that's better. Because at the end of the day, like, yeah, sure, I'm the lead, but I'm not like omniscient, and maybe I did some mistake here and there, and maybe you can come up with like some great idea that I would not have seen because like I'm too much into my own workflow. And then you're gonna say to me like, oh, you could do that. I'm like, yeah, sure, we need to put it in inside.
So you would say
There's
like it's
always
really
room
just
for
about
improvement.
testing? So like trying different things and just seeing what sticks?
Yes, see what you like, see what works better for you. Some people like we've seen it. Like I'm gonna go again like with the likeness, but it's the same way we did. Like Marlon taught us like a good way of doing something, but then our other instructor Farid taught us another way, and they both works very great, both different type of workflow, and both like one prefer the other, one prefer one, and the other prefer the other, and it's fine because the result at the end is the same.
Yeah.
As far as tips that I can give to aspiring artists or new artists is something that I realized recently, but I think it's very important that whatever you do, it's not a race. I know the industry is pushing us to be better sooner, quicker, because there's a lot of competition, but it's not a race, it's a marathon. That you don't have to be the best now and then in 2 years stop working on it because you're burnt out. You want to do it for your life, so like time yourself. If you want to take a break, do take a break. Do you can feel guilty. I feel guilty when I take a long break or when I play a game because I want to work on characters. But sometimes at the end of the day, like I have a day job, I work for 8 hours a day, and then I come back home. I have to take care of my kids.
I move from one side of the
I went
desk to
from one
different.
piece to the other. But uh, you come back home, and then you may have some family. You spend time with your family, and that's very important. It's all about like your mental state. Spend time with your family, spend time with your kids, and then at the end of the day, like my kids get to sleep. I spend some time with my wife, and it's like 10:30. It's 11, and it's very hard to start something and to get like to my computers to do like maybe a character because it takes a lot of energy to start. When you start, that's great. Like you can do it like maybe for the whole night. But if you can't start, don't feel guilty about not being able to start because that's very difficult. And at the end of the day, observation, yourself feeling good about yourself and feeling refreshed is as important as like training and training and training. It's a bit like overtime. Like overtime is very like counterintuitive because you do a lot of things and you spend more time to finish like something. But at the end of the day, you're very tired the next day, and the next day you're less efficient in your task. So whatever time you gain by staying late, you're losing because you're not being able to focus much on your task.
I think this is so relatable. I'm like, 100% with you on that. Every time I try to like push a little harder, next day it all comes back. Like,
Yeah.
100%. It's like, I mean, and it's not like working with a hangover. It's like,
no, it's
it's just like hangover from work.
It's really funny. It took me a long time to. I think what's important for people is finding your weaknesses. Like that was a question like during interview, like what are your weaknesses, and everybody was like, I'm so perfectionist.
Yeah,
no.
I'm just like too hardworking.
Yeah. So no, yeah, I think like thinking about your real like weaknesses, like for me, I know like if I do not sleep enough, I might be prone to anger or to like lose my temper a lot more or to like maybe be too harsh. And at one point you can say like, yeah, well, but that's fine, you can pull through. But I've seen it like me acting that way with my kid, like being angry for nothing just because I stayed late, work late, just to get that extra life. And maybe like doing that extra work is not worth like the feeling of like guilt you have, like feeling angry over someone that did nothing. Just you were annoyed because you were tired. So sleep, most important thing, then food.
Okay. Actually, we have a question about that. Like, how do you balance personal work and work? How do you find that? Do you find, sorry, that one kills motivation for the other, or have you found a way to keep energy after work? I think you partially answered,
Yeah.
but like,
Um, before before having kids, I really have much energy after work. No, after kids, big different, big different. It's having kids is really like energy consuming because they have so much energy, like they are
well,
taking yours, and like everybody
yeah.
that have kids can relate to it.
Oh my
But
God.
at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it's finding something interesting, and that's why like my portfolio is a bit of mix of everything because I'm working like what motivates me finding interesting things. I need to like work on something that's interesting to me, and maybe it's not interesting to anyone, but as long as it's not interesting to me, I can keep working on it. And sometime I would just like, yeah, say okay, I put the kid to sleep and it's like 9 and I'm gonna start like working. The other thing actually is starting. When you start, it's all good. Like I start at 9 and then I pull like my pen and it's like 1 a.m. and like because I know I get to wake up in the morning because kids wakes me up. I don't have the choice. But at the end of the day, yeah, motivation is there, but the energy sometimes is not, and I think that's okay because yeah, that's yeah, energy vampires
Yeah.
exactly
Peter says yes.
so
That's
much.
so true. Yeah. Yeah. Relatable. Relatable.
And
Well,
sometimes it's like
yeah.
it's 12 a.m. and I'm like, yeah, I'm starting. I open ZBrush and I'm thinking about tomorrow. Like, no, I'm gonna be tired, and if I'm tired, I'm gonna be like X or Y. I'm gonna be that way, and just like closing the ZBrush. And it's a bit sad in a way, but it's important, like mentally and physically, to just be able
Yeah.
to say no sometime. And even though it's my passion, um, my life is also important. Personal life is also important. And I could live without art, but I don't think I could live without my family. So at the end of the day, that's a choice you make.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love that actually. Like, like I think it's really great that you're saying this because I don't want to be the pessimistic like one on the show, but from time to time that actually hits me. I don't know about you guys, everybody who is listening, but I see stories from time to time of different artists who are like, had really, really like dark periods in their life, and it obviously not only affects Korea, it affects everything, it affects you. And
Yeah.
I don't want to mention anyone personally, but there's been a lot of stories that really blew up in the industry, like how like it ended up really tragically. And I think we all have to be aware that although it's our passion, we have to like take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important not to overwork yourself into something where you don't want to be.
Yeah,
For
the
sure.
pressure, the pressure of the industry, and maybe like having so much good artists out there is also like difficult because we see like all of these artworks, and I know like I've been using Facebook as the like a hub for everything that's art related. I don't put much like personal stuff on Facebook, but I reach out to other artists and put my art on Facebook, and I'm using it as a tool to get to know more artists and see more art. But at the end, sometimes there's so much like good art. I'm like I feel that I need to go and get to work. But when you're pressured to do
Marlon here with his
Jesus, Marlon. At the end of the day, like the pressure that's forcing you to do something is not healthy. You need to do it because you want to. And maybe, right now I'm working as a lead character artist and that's great. And maybe like in 2, 3 years, I'm not going to find any job to do. And maybe that's fine. I'm going to do something else because at the end of the day, I want to make character a bit for myself or for a company. It's just like you are, it's very corny, but you have to find yourself. Like, what are you doing it for? Are you doing it for money? Are you doing for yourself? And there's a lot of questions, and any answer is good. Like, it's good to do it for money. It's fine. Just find the answer that's suitable for you, that will give you like, okay, this is my motivation. I'm doing it for that. I'm doing it like to be recognized or to be in a museum. And then you work toward that goal. Give yourself goals. tiny goals, big goals, and then let's just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so non-art hobbies and non-work relationships are so important. Thank you, Peter, for the comment. Really love that. Agree.
Yeah.
And Hugo, I'm just going to say that we've got a little tradition here on the podcast, and
Sure.
we've got a tiny questionnaire. It's not so tiny, but you're allowed a tiny answer to each one of the 10 questions. So, like, keep it under one phrase. You
Great.
understand what is like one phrase?
I don't
like
think
5
so. I
words.
can try. I told you
5
I'm
words.
very chatty. I
That's fine, you know, like that is okay. Somebody's finally, there's one person that talks more than me. Just kidding.
Thank you.
Just kidding. Okay, so I'm ready when you are. I'm going to shoot you 10 questions.
Go ahead.
What's your number one tip for combating distractions when working from home?
Embrace it.
That
Embrace distraction.
is not helpful, but anyway, let's keep going. What's your favorite tradition or holiday?
Christmas.
Awesome. What's your favorite way to get in some exercise?
Playing with my kids.
That is, yes, true. What's your most used emoji?
Smiley face.
Like very smiley? Like
both smiley
Okay.
face. Like
okay, I got it. Yes, makes sense, of course. What's your source of inspiration?
other artists.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
It's gonna be okay.
How do you celebrate little victories?
I used to say drinking, but now I'm I don't know, celebrating, eating a cake, take out food.
Yeah. If you could see one movie again for the first time, which one would you watch?
Very funny. Can I have like more than 3 words
Mm-hmm.
for this one? I would say like Interstellar, but I watched it again now that I have kids, and it was too difficult. That's very intense when you have kids. So which movie could I watch? I don't know. I could tell you about video games, but movie, that's a bit different.
Tell me a video game.
Yeah, video game, that would be Grandia.
Cool.
PS1 RPG gave me that the will of working in video games. Or, that's part of. Sorry, I'm a bit over like.
Go ahead.
3 words. But I think that's interesting for people. Like when I started like working in video game, I wanted people to be able to dream the way I dreamed when I played this game. Like you feel like in a trance. You're like dreaming all of these universes, and that's one of my big goals as an artist. I would like to work on a game that will make people dream the way I dreamt when I was a kid.
Wow, I love that.
End goal.
Yes. And finally, what's your backup career?
I don't know, maybe a mechanic or a baker, because I love to cook. I love to make bread, and I'm very interested in fixing cars. So I don't know.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you, Hugo. So,
Thanks.
As I'm wrapping this up, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Come and add me on Facebook. Usually what I do is I'm looking if it's an artist that's adding me or if it's a random person, but mostly every artist that adds me on Facebook, I would accept them. And then or mail me if you have an important question. But Facebook or Messenger, it's really for me to reach out. I know a lot of people are jumping out of Facebook, but I'm using it as almost a professional tool. So you can join me on ArtStation. A bit harder for me to answer because sometimes I forget. But my mail and my LinkedIn sometimes too, but I forget like ArtStation.
I just pulled up your full name and your
Yeah,
most commonly
great.
used nickname. So this is has been Hugo Sena. Thank you so much, Hugo, for
Thanks.
joining.
Thanks for
I
having
think
me.
this has been amazing, and thanks for everyone to listening. My name is Maria JD. This was episode 50 of Art Heroes podcast. Can't believe that it's been like so many, and Hugo, it's just like almost a celebration episode, and the
Great.
first episode we're doing live. So really appreciate everyone coming on the show. Like, thank you guys. Give us
Thanks.
a little like so that I know that you're here, and so that we have a little bit more energy to keep going, because like it's some work. Not like
Yeah.
Hugo is a lot of work. No.
Yeah, I am a lot of work. I know
No,
it. I know
no,
it.
you're not. No. Yes, but yeah. So thanks everyone again, and I'm gonna see you here in about a week time. Let's play a jingle. Ciao, Hugo.
See ya, guys. See ya.